and just trying to take advantage of it the best that they can. And just looking at the island right now, I didn't see Scented either.
Miro and Cooper are looking awfully vicious though in that position. You can just tell that they are waiting for the perfect opportunity to strike, and it's got to be only a matter of time. They can tell that there is so much chaos already unfolding on top of this Rift Island. Teams are just constantly under pressure, both outside and right here directly at the Rift Island. But for Vask and for Hen, again, you have to remember they're the ones who actually secured the capture point here, so they've got some decent loot to go with it. And Miro and Cooper, if there was ever a time to try and take down another team and, you know, get plenty of refills as far as your materials are concerned and your weapons, that is definitely the opportunity.
Yeah, elimination feed is lighting up. A lot of players being forced to interact with each other thanks to that storm surge. Seeing Vortex go down. Even Duke's trying to rise to the occasion here today after his performance yesterday, trying to qualify for the FNCS Global Championship Final tomorrow. Jamon goes down. Yuma's going to have to leave him behind, but he's only 72 above the storm surge threshold, but now he's becoming the focus of multiple teams in this lobby right now. It's not looking good. HP is going to be down low. Shields are going to be ripped off, and the shots continue. Finally, though, he does have a short moment to breathe, but that's only going to give him enough time to pop one Mimi. The Shalom and MK Pop are over on the other side. They probably know that he's a solo. They saw him crash land in with that rocket ram, and this is something that they're trying to take advantage of.
Shalom and MK Papa, they've just been playing bouncer responsibility on this edge of zone, and granted it just moved in a little bit tighter, but for Yuma, now you can see him starting to get lit up by some of that storm surge. Accountability as far as your surge strategies are concerned, it can be very difficult to maintain it throughout because there is just so much action happening as some of the congestion builds along this edge of zone, and teams needing to move even further in. Players like Yuma are bound to get caught out on those later rotations.
Yeah, you can see they're even willing to risk it. Shalom and MK Papa, they got the elimination, or at least they saw it towards the backside of zone, but they didn't have very many materials at all. So it was almost an all or nothing situation if they want to keep as best chance as possible for them to try to stay alive. I see a Vico. I don't see Pink. Got to imagine, yes, he is by himself as a solo, and he's suffering to surge right now. 13 below the threshold. Now he's in zone. Everything crumbling down. Only a few seconds to try to land the shot that matters, and he's not going to be given that opportunity. Down goes Pink. Down goes Vico.
But a massive pickup there for Yuma. Still utilize that rocket ram to try and close the gap even further and make sure that he's maintaining a decent distance on that backside of the zone. Kanata, meanwhile, next to Agers, trying to be vigilant with his awareness. And again, so many teams just trying to keep tabs on where everybody else is in the lobby. And players like Bing, there are a decent amount of pressure here, but they will manage to prevail. Nicely timed shots, nicely placed aim as well with that sharp tooth to ensure that they can acquire that elimination.
Yeah, and since he got eliminated altogether, you gotta imagine Moneymaker went down earlier on in this same game. We saw Polarize, the one that took down Snazy, leaving Podesai by himself. At least he's above the damage threshold for now, but quickly falling below. Now he knows he's gonna have to try to find and catch somebody off guard, because otherwise he's gonna have no choice but to try to get in the box, slowly but surely biding his time, trying to make sure that he makes the right play. And this is an opportunity for him to really rise to the occasion by himself. And with Storm Surge shutting off for now, that at least allows him to breathe, restabilize himself in that position. Edgy goes down outside of zone. It wasn't a knock. So Duke and Edgy are also out of this game. Action is moving so fast, and we're not even into the placement points yet.
The zone pull, a little bit brutal for some of these teams as it just keeps getting closer and closer to that. And again, for Agers and Kanata, as we get another opportunity to see from where we last left off with them, Kanata's got to be careful with his rocket ram on the landing. So many teams, and right on the side of this hill. It can be difficult. He's trying to work his way back up already. Fully understand the fact that he doesn't want to have to play from the low ground, but he'll be forced to take shelter, utilize some of his Memnis. Unfortunately for him, only has those mini shield potions, won't actually get an opportunity to get full shields. And for Agers, this is even worse.
Yeah, he only has 23 HP, doesn't have time to sit back. Nice shot's gonna be fired. That is a huge siphon and refresh for Agers, because now he's boosted up in the mats. He has a little bit more HP to work with. The flopper, the med kit he can
plus the med kit. He just doesn't have the mobility that he'd be hoping for. With so many teams having already pushed in, he might just barely make it in the nick of time. He's got to find another siphon opportunity, but even just making it this far is more than enough.
I feel like I heard him on stage. Don't worry, Kanata, I'm coming. Don't worry. Medkit being used, minis being dished out, and they are back into the game. The resurgence from day one as we get a replay from Clicks and Epicwell. One of the biggest teams everybody came to see. They get aggressed on due to Storm Surge, and they shine bright. Storm Surge is not a problem from them as they pick up 2 eliminations.
Check out where Bryce and Chubbs are at, a little bit more isolated than some of these other teams that are trapped inside of all this congestion. Mr. Savage and Badil, though, from rags to riches at the beginning of this game, they have done a decent, if not a phenomenal job at putting themselves into a comeback situation.
Some of these teams who are asking, do you got what it takes to get your ticket onto the battle bus? What about the roller coaster this team is going through from down the mountain, across the rivers, over towards Naughty Nets? I think best case scenario, honestly, Taco, is it going south, continuing on towards that island. If it goes back on over to the west, this is going to be a nightmare for anybody that doesn't have maps, as Clicks has used the last little bit that he does have left, but he finds another elimination on the ping.
These perfectly timed rotations from Clicks, managing to find these players who are looking to just find that final push inward. But again, this is the beauty of being able to play from that backside of the zone. Still, Clicks, Epic trying to be careful, and we are getting a little glimpse here of a team that's momentarily on height. Whether or not Fishy and DMK are going to be able to hold this is a different question entirely, but for the time being, they look well situated to carry themselves into the top 10 at least.
Even though they have high ground now, they might have to wait for some of those teams below them to try to build that allow them to save some resources, save some maps as they make their way across the roster once more. Podesai 131 below the damage threshold, only a big pop to his name. So right now he's peeking through the cone. He's trying to just get as much information as possible. Where can I get this damage? But time is running out. He continues to fall well below that threshold as Savage picks up another elim. Badil goes down, but it's actually Epicwell who falls to Mr. Savage, trying to keep himself alive. Storm Surge isn't a worry, but it's the HP, it's the zone that's pulling away.
So unfortunate though, Savage going to be unable to do anything in terms of helping out the deal. Simply has to watch, wait, continue their run. That flopper though, along with the crash pads, does a great job placing him into the zone. Mr. Savage moving through all the traffic, eating shots as well, but doesn't care in the slightest. He's just continuing to push forward. He's making his own path through.
It's not going to be the most healthy anybody in the lobby can be, but he's definitely going to give himself enough wiggle room to work with. His Click's now going to be a solo, probably one of the more prolific solo players in the game. He finds a knock on the head, but unable to finish it up. He gets taken out by Podesai.
Podesai as well. The fact that he's managed to stay this far into the game as a solo, you just know that he's going absolutely insane right now, trying to keep the run alive. Rocket Rams as well, destroying so many builds in the process. These players continue to rotate through, but that materials refresh is going so far, and it's actually Bryce and Chubbs now at the top of the lobby, but builds running incredibly low.
Yeah, multiple top 10 performances in the major this year. I think Bryce and Chubbs are one of the teams that are falling under the radar. They're ready to make a statement, just like Komet, but he runs out of time, he runs out of space, he goes down as his med miss runs dry.
Kanata, another going to be popped. The patience, it's so hard to be patient through all this chaos as well. It's so easy to get distracted and think, okay, this is the perfect time to strike. A drop down to the low ground here for Kanata. Recognize the fact that he's got some players directly above him. Still has a couple of mini shield pushes he can utilize. Source, on the other hand, won't make it through. Cooper going absolutely nuclear with the back-to-backs here. Cooper just won't let it go. He's actually got it.
Look, it's actually Bryce and Chubbs. I thought it as well. I thought Cooper just stole away the game, but it's Bryce and Chubbs. I called them one of the most underrated teams falling under the radar this weekend. They played phenomenally to make it to this point, and they make a statement here.
a victory royale here on land in Copenhagen?
Yeah, I'm nervous.
Well, I can understand why you might be nervous. I do have a very scary face, so I'm going to come over to you, Chubbs. Talk me through the last moments of that game.
I don't know. We just took high and we won.
You took high. Okay, well, talk to me about the journey there. Did you feel like the zone was in your favor the whole time?
No, it wasn't at all.
Okay, well, how did you get around that situation then? How are you able to make the most of what maybe wasn't the most ideal situation?
We got surge and we had forecast, so we just went where the zone was.
There you go. Simple. Everyone hopefully listening here will find out how to win a victory royale on land thanks to these two. Just before I let you go, do you think you can overcome the nerves and pick up another victory royale today?
Yes, I think we can.
Brilliant. Wow, you know what? Now you've said that, I think you can too. Copenhagen, please give it up for Bryce and Chubbs.
You know, I thought the games yesterday were crazy, but game number 1 of the lower bracket does not disappoint. Bryce and Chubbs taking forecast, using that to just help them get ahead of the storm, even though they were in the toughest spot. It didn't matter. They were able to adapt. Yes, there's some nerves, but they overcame.
I love that interview, right? Getting asked, hey, you feel like the zones were in your favor? No, they weren't. I don't think they were in anybody's favor. I mean, a zone pulling over to naughty nets and then pulling back to the mainland. That was a roller coaster of a ride. But Bryce and Chubbs, they found the higher ground in the end, and they made it work.
I mean, these guys land all the way to the north of the map, even more north than Creaky Compound, so high up there. Of course, as they mentioned, they had the forecast, which helped them get the step ahead, and I really love the way they took height right there. A little